shop TYT.com. Look at this. It's a badass shirt, isn't it? I like this shirt.
You should show the back.
Yeah, the back's got a misspelling. But anyway, kind of. Not a misspelling. It just runs. It goes TYTnetwork.co, and then M is on the next line.
It's going to be limited edition. Okay.
It is.
True fans will get one of these with a mess up.
No one will get that. I have the only two in existence. Okay. Oh my God, what am I seeing here? Wasiterlad. Not only is it a power panel, not only am I in a really good caffeinated mood, okay, not only do we have Johnny Pie presiding as usual, but did you guys see what's happening over here to my right? Jimmy fucking Dore and King of Westeros, Wes Clark.
Really? That's what you're going with? That's what you're going with.
I think I'm going to switch it up.
Wild West.
Well, it depends on the
Either
story. You want to talk about Wild West, you should have heard what he was saying before we start.
Oh.
Which will not be repeated.
Never be repeated.
All right. You know, people have been buzzing that you guys are on the same panel.
Oh, really?
Do you know that? Yeah.
You know what? I like to lower expectations. Let's lower expectations. We're just a couple of guys.
See, Brian, the key is keep expectations low. Okay. You know, somebody says, talking about doing a Squarespace site for Mordor, petitioning for Mordor.
I would love to see. I don't know how that works, but you did it,
Well,
so
Squarespace is super easy. Let me tell you something. It's so easy I can do it. Okay, just drag and drop. Every time Anna says drag and drop in the ad, it sounds like drag and drop.
Oh, dragon?
Like I'm expecting a dragon to come out. All right. Well, speaking of which, we're gonna have a Game of Thrones clip for you in just a little bit. Okay. So great show ahead for you guys. John's gonna do most of it, but I have late breaking news that I'm immediately interrupting the show with. Okay. So here we go. Let me tell you the first story. Oh my God, literally. We have moral failure at God TV. I'm not kidding. I didn't even know there was a thing called God TV. I just found out. And that's because Rory Alec, co-founder with his wife Wendy, just resigned because he said of his moral failure. He said he won't be on this season. Can you return for a second season on God TV after moral failure this season? Okay.
The second coming of God TV.
Yeah. That's right, when he gets arisen.
No,
3 days later, he's going to come back.
It's God TV 2, the repenting.
I think the second coming spelled with a U.
Is that right? Okay, well, maybe
for this guy.
Yeah, for this guy, right?
Yeah.
So I love that there's a God TV. I love that they fucked up.
Yes.
Okay, which is, of course, what was going to happen. I can't believe they went 20 years without somebody screwing up earlier, right? One of the founders.
20 years?
Apparently, I don't know where the hell they're on, right? Maybe they're up in heaven. That's why we never got it. A bunch of atheists and agnostics up here. Okay, so, but the main reason I want to do this story, other than I find the entire thing hilarious, is the last couple of paragraphs here from Raw's story, okay? So it turns out Wendy Alec, the co-founder, the wife, is going to, they've already cleaned out Rory from the website. He's not going to co-host. That's okay. She's going to co-host with another God TV personality, Benny Hinn. Okay.
Oh!
Okay, Benny Hinn, like do.
Yeah, I know Benny.
Okay, so here's the paragraphs explaining that. Hinn went through a divorce from his wife of 30 years in 2010, following rumors that he was having an affair with fellow evangelist Paula White, who was separated from her evangelist husband, Randy White,
After cheating on him.
in the wake of an IRS investigation into financial improprieties at their church. His church was also scrutinized as part of an investigation that looked at 5 evangelical organizations. He's the guy replacing the guy who had the moral failure. Okay, but we're not done. Hinn remarried his wife in 2013, blaming her surprise divorce filing on her addiction to prescription drugs and on his lack of attention to her and their children as he fulfilled his ministerial duties. How bad are these people? Like, what, Satan TV ain't got nothing on God TV. They're like, God, man, we look like Boy Scouts compared to God TV.
Do we know what the moral failure was that this original guy is
It is
leaving for?
inconceivable that it wasn't sex. The only question is what kind of sex.
Oh, maybe it was gay sex.
Of course, because look.
He would say if it wasn't.
Like,
Really, you think?
If it was with another woman, he would say that. But because it's gay sex, he wants to keep it under wraps, right?
There's a good chance of that. Now, obviously, there's
Maybe he was just
speculation.
experimenting with crystal meth.
No, but look, here's why I think that Jimmy's likely to be right.
Maybe
because
he was experimenting with Chris Methel as a little different guy. Go ahead.
Because these guys, like you guys were saying in the beginning, second chance, I want to talk to Jesus. Jesus says it's okay. I mean, that's,
Yes.
God TV 101.
Yeah.
So.
Every commercial break.
Yeah, all the politicians, all the Christians that have sinned, right? So they come out, and everybody knows. Like, if you go to Christians, he screwed around on his wife. Everybody's like, so what, right? You know what I'm saying? If he was on drugs, it's easy. Oh, my wife accidentally filed the divorce papers because she was, you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, Benny Hinn got divorced, had an IRS investigation, his wife's on crack, and he's still on there, right? Only if it's a guy do you go, the moral failure, please don't ask any more questions. Okay, so we don't know, though. We don't know. That's speculation. Final paragraph of the article. God TV's focus is on the youthful Christian demographic with an emphasis on universal sinfulness and guilt of fallen man, making him subject to God's wrath and condemnation, according to their mission statement. Okay.
Practicing what they preach.
Who lives their life like thinking about God's wrath and condemnation? Hey, I want to tell about the kids of America about God's wrath and condemnation. Like twisted dudes, you know what I'm saying? And then their focus is on universal sinfulness and the guilt of fallen man. Well, check.
Can you imagine how sinful they would be if they didn't believe in God?
Yeah.
I know, right?
It's holding them back.
That's what our problem is.
I bet they wouldn't be. I think the religion and their belief in it drives them to perversity.
I think there's something to that. I also think that things like this just reveal, once again, that they're all used car salesmen and they don't really believe anything they're saying. And that's why, I have the theory of other people who try to shut up people who are blaspheming in their eyes. It's because it ignites that spark of doubt that they have to suppress in their brain. They can suppress it in their brain, but they can't suppress it out of your mouth, which is what they want to do, because when you say it, it lightens that back up. So this is just more proof that none of these guys believe it. It's all bullshit. It's just like still there's people who believe we went into Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction. Matt Miller on Left, Right, and Center. He's one of those guys. Even though Ben Bernanke has admitted that we went in, Alan Greenspan has admitted we went in, the Wilkerson, the Colin Powell's chief. So this is all more of that. This is just cognitive dissonance on their followers, and they're following a used car salesman. Anybody who's publicly religious, anybody, and I think including the Pope, is full of shit.
Well, I would say especially, some people say that we generalize about, regular run-of-the-mill Christians, which might be the case. But anytime they're making money off of it, the chances that they're true believers.
Every single church, because every single church
churches,
is a money-making institution.
The churches, those on TV, the Pope is a great example. It's a lot harder to believe that they are true believers when they're getting paid to say it, like Pat Robertson and things like that.
That doesn't mean that the Pope is evil. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the
this
Pope.
One seems okay.
He seems like he's better than the previous popes. But he still isn't, he's talking about his emphasis on the poor, which is good. But he's not talking about, I really want to help them so much, I'm going to sell the trillions of dollars of artwork and feed the poor. No, we're not going to do it. He wants you to sell your shit and feed the poor. He's not going to sell their stuff and feed the poor. So that's what I'm talking about. Anybody who's publicly religious, I'm always suspect of them. Because Jesus, even in the Bible, it says, beware of those people who go on the street corners and pray. When you pray to God, go in the closet, go at home, do it privately. And that's the way you're supposed to do.
Right. And I do know actually one other group that is constantly worried about God's wrath and condemnation, and also brooks no dissent whatsoever. ISIS.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
These guys are scammers. It's fairly harmless stuff. They'll rob you of your money when you send it into them and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
But at least they won't behead you.
Yeah.
But
lower chance Baghdadi will step down after moral failures.
They'll sleep with your wife. They won't kill her.
That's right.
Right. Are they not merciful?
They are. Oh, I was told when Dad was running, my job was I got to speak at all the African American churches in Tennessee and all these other places.
Oh.
And there's a guy who brings you around to each church, because you got to hit 10 churches in a weekend. And he's like, listen, man, every single one of these preachers has a wife, a mistress, and a girlfriend. So don't get too moral in private with them. I was like,
in private with them.
In private.
Oh, that's
in private.
awesome. That's awesome.
So this is exactly what we're saying. This is exactly what I said.
No, this is because look, it's anytime you're on a stage as a person, the kind of people that are going to gravitate towards being on that stage are the kind of people that want sex from strangers who look up to them. They just are. I mean, whether it's a politician or a rock star or a big actor or something, that's that's what they want.
Well, I mean, that's just part of being a man, right? I mean, and then some guys have a stronger drive for that than others, right?
So we should put women in charge of the churches?
No.
I liked it. Universal, no. No, that was actually a bad idea. Okay. All right, so let me move on to the next story. So quick update for you guys. Okay. So you know, guys, well, no you don't. I always say like you guys know, like as if they all know, right? So we're doing a progressive petition. What is this? Well, this is for progressive challengers to Hillary Clinton. Now, we're asking you guys, who should it be, right? And so we've got this, you could have emailed in already. We already got we got 20 candidates. Just stop emailing it, okay? But what you can do is vote now that all those candidates are there at TYT-10.03.14. Whoever gets over 1,000 signatures, we're going to keep indefinitely as possible challengers to Hillary Clinton. Because people are always wondering, who's a progressive challenger? Well, we got a progressive audience. Let's ask them, right? Yeah. I'm not going to tell you. I'm asking you, right? Everybody who's on the list, somebody voted them into the list, okay? Or a number of people voted them into the list. Now, we keep it real on the Young Turks, right? So our deadline for getting over 1,000 was going to be October 1st. Only Elizabeth Warren made it. So we have extended the deadline to a logical deadline of the election day, November 4th, election day. And then after the 2014 elections are over, okay, well, now we're on to 2016, and here are the possible real progressive challengers to Hillary Clinton. So the list, by the way, dramatic announcement. Normally I'd have the bugles playing. Okay, second person has made it to 1,000. Larry Lessig. Oh, from behind, all of a sudden, here comes Larry Lessig. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren still has a huge lead. Larry Lessig closing in. Okay, the other people who are close, Bernie Sanders, Bill Nye. Interesting. I didn't make the list.
Bill Nye.
Yeah, apparently a lot of people like Bill Nye.
But I think the odds of Bernie Sanders being able to get elected president are like,
close to Bill Nye's.
Close to Bill Nye.
All right, Jesse Ventura's on the list. Alan Grayson's got good votes. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Apparently, we have a very scientifically minded crowd. Jon Stewart's on the list, and Al Gore. Those are the ones that are within contention, and then there are many, many others. Okay.
Are you not on the list?
No, but I know that there are petitions for more Dore. So I wonder if we can get Jimmy Dore. Well, we don't tell people how to vote. Okay. Now, yes, you can still email in, okay, just calm down, and we'll have the link for you guys down below. But mainly we want you guys to vote and tell us who should make the cutoff. So far, Elizabeth Warren and Larry Lessig have made it. We'll see if some of the other guys can get pushed over the top. TYTnetwork.com/petitions. And we're basically asking the question, who is going to say this for progressives? I knew that he was not going to be ready because they were talking. The video for the petitions.
I will be your champion.
I don't know if that's a good analogy.
Yeah, dude, because he gets slayed and his skull cracked open. But you're right. That's exactly the chances that our champion's going to have.
Elizabeth Warren standing over Hillary Clinton's body doesn't end well.
But I love that scene when it's like, I will be your champion. I'm like, yes!
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess in that scene, we're Tyrion, and we're like this when we have a champion. Oh, thanks God. All right, well, let's see how it turns out. You tell us. Okay, now we move forward.
Okay, let's move forward with some news. Earlier this week, Reza Aslan argued with CNN hosts about some of the recent comments that Bill Maher had made about Islam and about the rights and roles of women in different Muslim countries. Reza Aslan feeling that Bill Maher was being overly generalizing and unfair to many Muslim countries that do allow many rights to women living there, including running those countries. And now he is getting attacked by other CNN hosts for the things that he said. Now, before we go to that new stuff, let's give you a little sample of some of what Reza said earlier this week on CNN.
He says that in Somalia...
Yeah, but and that's actually empirically, factually incorrect. Eritrea has almost 90% female genital mutilation. It's a Christian country. But again, this is the problem, is that you make these facile arguments.
Reza, be honest, though, for the most part, it is not a free and open society for women.
I mean, again, this is the problem, is that you're talking about a religion of 1.5 billion people. You know, this is the problem, is that these kinds of conversations that we're having aren't really being had in any kind of legitimate way to justify a generalization. That's actually the definition of bigotry.
All right.
Did you hear what you just said? You said in Muslim countries. To say Muslim countries as though Pakistan and Turkey are the same is, frankly, and I use this word seriously, stupid.
So he was pretty fired up there. Pretty fired up.
I love it every time.
I love that CNN refuses to take stands on almost any issue, but condemning Islam, they're willing to get behind Bill Maher on that one.
They would never disagree with the Pentagon, but you want to insult 1.6 billion people in the world? Yeah, we're behind that. Let's be honest, though. I love how they say to Reza, like, he's got all the facts, they have none of the facts. They're like, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you're not being honest, and now they're going to follow up with it. By the way, Profile and Courage here, they don't invite him back on. They just have one of their other anchors come in to take a pot shot at him.
Exactly, yeah. So they began attacking him, and we got 2 clips for you. In the second one, they got something about his tone that's awesome, but here's them attacking Reza Aslan.
Okay, we had a very heated, controversial conversation here this week.
He was, in a way, you know, playing off the last story we did. He was playing a little bit of the race-religion card on you guys. He was saying, you're calling everybody the same. You're calling them all bad.
I was simply asking the question in order to get an answer. You know, Reza, he apologized on Twitter.
Well, he apologized because during the course of it, he said that the question was stupid, and it implied that I was stupid, and he immediately apologized. And I don't actually need an apology. I think that we need to be able to ask the questions, even controversial questions, even questions that you might deem as stupid, because then it allows for the conversation. But I also want to say that it was interesting that Reza used the example of Indonesia, where he was saying they treat women, you know, fairly, because it was just last weekend that one province in Indonesia, Aceh, allowed legally caning of homosexuals.
Yeah.
Who are not women necessarily. But anyway, okay. So they had to go and stretch for an example, because Reza came in with all these facts about, well, actually, female genital mutilation doesn't normally happen in Muslim countries. It happens more in African countries. Some of those countries happen to be Muslim and some are Christian, right? They had all these different facts. So they're like, oh, yeah? There's caning in Indonesia in one province. Indonesia is gigantic. It's the largest Muslim country. It's enormous. And then so they've got one province, which is a little bit more fundamentalist, and you got the caning going on there. For example, a great fact that Reza had was 7 Muslim countries have had women as their leaders. The U.S. has had none, right? So that's, I mean, okay, so they hate women. And look, if you're talking about Islam itself and some of the fundamentalist interpretation of it, then I'm going to be with you, okay? But if you just say all 1.5 billion people, all of those countries, well, it's not factual.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially dangerous when we're in a time right now where the media and perhaps some elements of the government are trying to lay the foundation for another extended deployment in the Middle East to attack the people that they're demonizing there. And if you are successful in getting the American people to think of Muslims around the world as an other, as a dangerous, different sort of people, then historically that has been how you go out and you kill a lot of people. And so I'm glad that Reza is trying to fight against that and making sure that people know that yes, there's extremism and extreme violence in the Middle East right now, and many of those people perpetrating it are Muslim, but that does not mean that Muslims around the world are that sort of people.
Mm-hmm. So when they say, I don't know what the next video is going to be, but when they say that, you know, the case is always made that Muslims are extremists, they're killers, they're fanatical, unlike Christians. Now, do we not get credit for being Christian when we invaded Iraq and stole their resources and killed their people and ordered war crimes and torture to cover it up? Does that not count as us being Christian? Because George Bush was a born-again Christian. He even said crusades during. So So I would say that probably the biggest terrorist country in the world, and this is going to make sure I'll never be president when I say this, would be the United States. If you go from that kind of who's been blowing up the most people and killing the most people illegally, that would be the United States, right? I don't know, since 9/11, we've bombed 7 different Middle East countries now. So you tell me, how many times has a Muslim country bombed the United States? maybe just one time, and it was with airplanes. They had to buy a plane ticket to do it. Yeah. So this,
and it wasn't a country.
And it wasn't a country. You're exactly right. It wasn't a country. It was just a group of people. So what is it? Did we not have to take responsibility as Christians for doing that? Isn't that considered Christian?
No. So that goes to two really important points. One is, whenever Christians do it, they say, "Wow, that's not fair. I mean, it was America, and we had good reason, and that doesn't count as Christian." Whenever a Muslim does it, they're like, "You see how always it's the Muslims?" Yeah. But wait, that's not logically consistent. So if you say every time a Muslim does it, it is because of Islam, it is fair to ask the question Jimmy's asking here. Every time a Christian person does it, is it because of Christianity? You can't say, no, it's never because of Christianity and it's always because of Islam. That's not logically consistent. Yeah. So the real answer is, you go case by case. Did that person act for religious fundamentalist reasons? Did he not do that or did he do it for other reasons? And oftentimes we start war for greed, not for religion, right? So those are two main reasons. Fundamentalism and greed is why we start the wars. Now, there's a good argument to be made that Bush did mainly for greed, but there's an argument to be made that it was also partly because of fundamentalism. He told the leader of France, Gog and Magog are supposed to come out of Iraq, and I have to go fight them. And they had to look it up in France what the hell Gog and Magog was. It's apparently in the Bible, and they couldn't believe that the President of the United States had lost his mind.
But that's not necessarily a Christian thing. I saw an episode of Cosmos about that.
Johnny Pie.
And then one more thing to what both John and Jimmy said. So we have disparate power in terms of weaponry, right? So when we drop bombs on people, when we shock and awe them, and we do Tomahawk missiles and drone strikes, those don't count as terrorism, Jimmy, right? But they don't have as big a weapons, so when they use a knife or box cutters or whatever they have at their disposal, we say, goddamn terrorists, right? So again, let's be logically consistent. So you kill civilians, we kill civilians. Well, what is it when you kill civilians? No, for us it's collateral damage. For you, you're a dirty terrorist, right? And so you kill people one at a time because that's all you have the resources for. We kill them thousands at a time, but you're worse than us because we saw you do it. We saw the video of it. When you see the video of my bombs, you don't actually see the kids blowing up. You see, it seems like a cool video game, right? But in reality, there's a lot that is similar. There's things that are different, but you have to be logically consistent.
Yeah, and
well, I got to say, there's a couple different things that come out watching this. The first is when you look at the press and you think, okay, the press have been targeted by Muslim extremist organizations to radicalize them. If you look at 9/11, where did it happen? It happened in New York City, media capital of America. 2 weeks later, anthrax was sent out. Who is it sent to? Journalists. If somebody was reporting over in the Middle East and they've been kidnapped, Laura, what's her name, in Egypt, who got sexually assaulted in Cairo. Cutting journalists' heads off. It specifically targets the press because the press then can be counted on to overreact and get people crazily upset.
So this is a great point, Wes.
But all in the same. I think there is a quintessential difference between Islam and Christianity and its effects. If you look at, in organizations, you don't have the same kind of, like, let's not kid ourselves, the KKK was a Christian organization.
Ha!
I mean, it was.
No doubt.
And that's the closest analogy you can have for most of the extremist Muslim organizations. They're their kind of culture's equivalent of the KKK at that time. People who come in the middle of the night, they harass you, they scare you, they burn your house down. Sometimes they plant a bomb there. That's exactly what it is for them. But we don't look at it that way. We look at it as monolithic. Because on a certain level, the terrorists want you to look at it as monolithic. Because they know it's like when the wars happened and they began in Yugoslavia, okay? There's a big peace march in Sarajevo. And what happened? Well, the Serbs used snipers to kill people in the peace march because they know if they did that, they could, polarize the community faster and get people to line up faster. So that's also part of a terrorist strategy, is to change people's opinions versus the other group, so that people clash.
So when you lump them in all together and you say Muslims, you're actually significantly helping the terrorist cause, because that's exactly how the terrorists want you to see the world. All the Muslims come to my side because you see they blame you anyway for what I did. They're at war with you anyway, right? So join that war. I want all 1.5 billion of you to join me, otherwise we're not going to be able to win anyway because they have more bombs. So you couldn't help the terrorists more than when you say all Muslims.
No.
But also, and here's the other thing that we're also failing to mention on this is, dude, Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo are two of the biggest intellectual fucking lightweights on the planet. They're not in that job because they're bright, they're articulate, they're argued. They're in the job because
they have a nose for news?
They're very nice and they've got big eyes like Bambi and they can look
exactly
like your friend and be innocent on stuff.
That's exactly
not
right.
because they know what they're talking about.
You know, what you were talking about the news media going into hysterics over here, over the... Well, you know, this is the... You have to ask yourself, like what Jenks was making the point that they don't have bombs like we do. That's why they have a knife and they kill one person at a time.
They also don't control the state. That's the other thing.
That's another thing, too. And they also knew that the United States, the reason why they did that was they wanted the United States to overreact. They wanted us to start bombing them. That's exactly what they wanted. Why would they want that, Jimmy? Why would they want us to blow them up? Because as soon as we start blowing them up, it galvanizes the rest of the Muslim world to go on their side. Because now they have the enemy of the great infidel, the United States. We did exactly what they wanted. When Osama bin Laden flew those planes and then he's totally wanted us to overreach and bankrupt ourselves the way the Russians bankrupted themselves in Afghanistan. And we did it. He said he. So we're doing it. This is the dumbest. This return the bombing in the Middle East is the dumbest thing. It's only to line the pockets of the military-industrial complex because the only way you are gonna secure the peace in that part of the world is you get the Sunnis to go along with you. And the reason why they're going along with them right now is because they're also Sunnis. The ISIS is Sunnis. The parts of the world they're taking control of are Sunni. And they're sick of the Shia. So it's the oldest thing. We're never going to secure it without boots on the ground. And you got to make alliances with the Sunnis, just like with the Great Sunni Awakening. Am I wrong about that?
No, you have to, but good luck. I mean, we're not going to be able to do it. And what's the first thing that happened? The very first bombing we did in Syria, we accidentally killed 12 civilians.
Yes.
And what happened? The families of all those civilians are now with ISIS. If they weren't before, they are now, and it just made our job harder. Look, the best point Jimmy's making is ISIS didn't capture a land that is greater than the size of Great Britain because they were stupid. Look, we've covered a lot of different terrorist organizations and militant organizations on the show, and I tell you, if they're smart, they're stupid, they're somewhere in the middle. Like al-Zarqawi, I literally predicted a month before his death that he would be dead very soon. I predicted on the show, I wrote a blog about it. Why? Because he was a moron, okay? And he kept showing up in videos with sneakers and like doing stupid shit and be like, hey, over here, over here. And then next thing you know, a month later, he was dead. Everything I've seen about al-Baghdadi is he's a really smart guy. He captured all this fucking land with a tiny, tiny army, right? So you think he sent the videos where they're manually cutting our citizens' heads off because he didn't want us to attack?
Right.
Okay, he's not dumb. He didn't think that, oh, well, I'll send this will really intimidate the Americans, right? He knew that if you send that tape over, they're coming right into our trap. Well, you know how easy is it to kill Americans when they're in Nebraska? Really, really hard. How easy is it when they're in Syria? Really, really easy.
Well, a couple things. One, I don't think we're doing this for the military-industrial complex. I just, trust me, Obama doesn't go, oh, man, Raytheon, Northrop, you're looking a little light in the cash. Let's drop some shit. They're not doing that. It's like thinking that there's people actually controlling the world, and there aren't. Nobody's in charge.
So what happened? Here's what I think happened.
What is something happened, someone died, people go, the president's got to do something. And so the president's like, let's just drop some bombs then.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. I think that what the people saying we got to do something are in a lot of ways motivated by the defense contractors. Yes. And so John McCain gets an enormous amount of money from defense contractors. It's not because John McCain's a sellout and he knows on purpose, oh, I want to start a war so they can get rich. No, but it's a country. Right.
Bombing is the solution.
That's exactly my point. It's a country of 300 million people, right? you're gonna the Raytheons of the world are gonna find a guy like John McCain to back, and they're gonna pour their money into John McCain. They're gonna pour their money into Lindsey Graham, and those guys are gonna go on TV and say, "You got to, why won't the president attack?" They'll get campaign contributions, and the generals will come on, and they'll say, "Why won't the president attack?" And those generals are getting paid oftentimes hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars from Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. So that's how it subtly influenced the president. You're right. The president isn't sitting in the White House saying, "I got to make more money for Raytheon." That's not how it works.
And let's not kid ourselves. He doesn't know what to do in the Middle East.
Yeah.
He said, "Listen, let's get rid of Gaddafi. Oh, no, now let's get rid of Assad. Now there's a red line for Assad."
Yes.
No, wait, listen, whatever. Forget that what I said about the red line.
Right.
And he doesn't have a fucking policy because he doesn't have a geostrategic vision of where to move the country.
He's bombing in the Middle East because of political pressure that was ramped up by people who are in the pockets of the military-industrial complex.
No, I think it was political pressure ramped up by all kinds of...
Yeah, it was a bunch of different things, but that's certainly a big part of it.
We signed the UN Convention.
Every general...
There's genocide happening there.
Okay.
You've got, I mean, you're obligated legally, every state in the world is obligated to do something about genocide, and it's clearly occurring there.
Okay.
So, but he didn't think it through. He said, "We're going to bomb."
Okay, let's do the second video.
Okay, yeah, we got to move on, but you should see the second video because that's initially why we wanted to do this. Look at how personal they make it in regard to Reza Aslan in the second clip.
He realized the moment you call someone a name, you lose the argument, and that's why he apologized to.
But also his tone was very angry, so he wound up kind of demonstrating what people are fearful about when they think of the faith in the first place, which is the hostility of it. Do you therefore want to generalize? Of course not. But you do want to call a situation what it is. It's not a coincidence that ISIS begins with an I. Right. I mean, that's what's going on in that part of the world.
So all Muslims are the same, and he's as bad as all the rest.
Yes, because the Muslims have a hot temper. You know, unlike the Christians like Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
They don't have a hot temper.
Yeah. He jihaded all over them with stats.
Unlike the Italians, like Cuomo. The Italians don't have a temper at all.
Yes.
Okay, no, but and then they said he personalized it, and that's wrong. And then they just personalized it. They said, "Look at how the angry Muslim." You see that?
It's jujitsu.
But we showed you the clip. We did a whole segment on it before. We just showed it to you again. He came with facts.
Yes.
So like, as he was giving the facts, he was a little frustrated that they kept asking the same stupid question over and over again. I suppose he was supposed to be a little bit calmer. Now I say that and I'm a little emotional. That's because I was born Muslim. So you know, right? Yeah, that's right. That was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. To not bring him on, to bring in Chris Cuomo on there to do a character assassination of Reza Aslan because he humiliated them by being so right. And this is, by the way, how you get eliminated from television.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to see if they bring Reza Aslan back on. I'm very curious about that. Because there he burned some bridges by being so right.
Well, they're terrified that if they have him back on, they might actually see a bump in ratings for the first time in years and years.
No, that's what I said. I think if it gets ratings, they'll bring him back on. So if this gets passed around and becomes a viral clip or something, which
but it did. Our clip about that discussion they had gets more views than most CNN shows do on most nights. No, but they don't want to have that debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, look, the final thing on this is that what's driving me crazy is that they're missing the whole point, right? So I think part of what Reza's saying, certainly what we say on this show is, look at the root cause. The root cause is... there's two reasons why we start wars. One is greed, whether it's financial, Halliburton gets 5-time increase during the Iraq War, yada, yada. We've been over that, right? Sometimes it's greed for a little bit more territory. I'd like a little bit more territory in the West Bank. I'd like some more settlements. Or Ukraine, Crimea, I'd like a little bit more territory. That's greed too, right? And the second reason is fundamentalism, okay? It's not that regular Christians or Jews or Muslims want to start wars. Generally, they don't want their kids to die. They want peace. They want to be left alone. They want a good job, right? But fundamentalists think, no, my religion is better than your religion, and I'll go to war to prove it, okay? So ISIS is fundamentalist to its core, as fundamentalist as it gets. And they think, I'm going to take this land for the Islamic Caliphate, right? We got some fundamentalists in our Army, in the Air Force, for example. We had the guy, general who said, my God is bigger than their God.
Boykin.
General Boykin, that's right, okay? And so these guys want to drive us to war. And you got fundamentalist Jews who say, no, God gave me this land, and I'm never getting off this land. I don't care what the 1967 borders are. I don't care about anything. This is my land. And then you have Muslims who say the same exact thing. This is my land, and Allah gave it to me. We're going to war, right? So it's not the religions. As much as I dislike the religions, as much as I disagree with the religions, as much as I think they are untrue in their entirety, okay? It's the fundamentalists of those religions who say, let's go to war, okay? And that's what they're misdiagnosing. Part of the reason that they diagnose it wrong is because they never, ever would say on American TV, it's also the Christian fundamentalist. They would never say that. That's the reality.
Yeah. I didn't, by the way, I didn't know that stuff about the female clitorectomies and all that stuff, that it mostly an African problem, not a Muslim problem, that Christian countries do it too. I didn't know any, that was really informational. Good.
He's got to be banned.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that guy. People actually came away from that segment with more information, and the national news likes to make you dumber when you walk away from their newscast.
It's also the same thing with the honor killing. It's a regional thing in certain cultures. It's got nothing to do with the religion.
Yeah. Yeah, and in some parts of Turkey there's honor killings, and there's been honor killings there forever. Yeah. Islam, pre-Islam, it goes back forever, and it depends. And then you'll have honor killings within certain sects of Islam and certain sects of other ancient religions that are still in Anatolia, basically, because it's a cultural thing. Yeah. All right, by the way, a horrific cultural thing. There's so many cultural things we got to fix. Anyway, yeah. All right.
We'll fix that one next week. Are we going to break? Or we got
let's go to break, and when we come back, all right,
we got Ebola.
We got witch doctors. Okay, we'll be right back.
We talk about TYT Army being so strong. Usually they help us run our show. Now they're going to help us run the country.
Like this! It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa! Democracy!
United!
We are!
We are!
Too strong! There's thousands of volunteers, and you can be among them.
With Wolfpack, the mission is so clear.
Money is killing our democracy.
96% of Americans want it.
When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Let's go get them, man. Up and at them. Knock, knock.
We're coming for them! We're coming for them!
Wolf-pack.com.
All right, back on the Young Turks. I think that every time we come back from the break on Friday shows, there's like 3 people talking at once. I think every single time. But that's kind of fun. It's become a thing now. Okay, kind of. I like that Amira, who's running the boards there, she's like, no, that's not really fun. No, I vote no on that. And I say, oh, you got your St. Louis hat on just to, take a shot at Jesus over there, Mr. Dodger?
Damn.
Okay. Jesus, you got your Dodgers TYT shirt on?
I do.
All right, I like that.
Are you watching the game right now?
No. I'm working here. We are professionals here. We would not.
All right, everybody can get that shirt at shoptyt.com. You can't get the Cardinals hat. We would never sell that. Okay. Okay, a couple tweets. Atheist says, how about this ad? Jank bullies Anna to build him a new website over the weekend, and she goes to Squarespace and makes funny faces. I don't really understand the last part of it, but I like the idea of me bullying you into making me a website. And a baby. Okay, anyway.
By the way, we've never addressed that. Where did the baby come from? Jake never calls me Anna baby.
They told me to improvise. What do I know about acting? Anyway, Heather Thompson says, never better than when Anna gets wound up and waves her finger around with instructions.
Did I do that?
I bet you did. Yeah. Okay. Stephen Scales says, since moving away from LA and reading my friend's Facebook posts, LA is smug and obnoxious as fuck. The land of make-believe.
He's right. We are.
Okay.
I fucking love LA and California. Don't give me shit.
No, you can still love them, but just admit we're smug.
How are we more smug than New York or DC? I remember remember going to DC. Yeah, I remember going to DC, like going to a bar, dressed casually, looking to have a good time, and everyone's wearing business suits, and they're like, "Who do you work for?" Really? Come on.
Yeah, they did just that. No, I saw it. They were. They were a little touched, but.
Come on, someone give me some validation.
Okay, validation.
JR, are you gonna jump in or what?
I don't really have control.
Oh,
okay. You don't have a.
JR agrees with me.
Oh, sure.
So someone agrees with me.
Okay. Did you hurt your fingers there, by the way?
Where?
Because you just touched my arm like that, you know. So.
I didn't even notice I touched your arm. It was so nice and soft.
You don't like that? On the last old school, I showed what I call my monstrous triceps.
You got the horseshoe? You got the horseshoe?
Oh, like crazy. Wendy and I were kidding around about how it's the least impressive body part. Like a girl has never said this sentence. Oh, I slept with him because of his triceps. All right, anyways, last one. Rommel J. Guzman, who has the best name in the world, says, sorry, it's malicious, referring to the arresting blacks at a higher rate for drug use. Slavery was transformed into Jim Crow, and Jim Crow was transformed into the prison industrial complex. Look, when you see it laid out like that, and of course some scholars have made that argument, it's a scary argument because you look at it and you go, oh, that looks a little true, you know, intentional, non-intentional, subconscious, conscious, whatever it might be, you know, and of course Rommel there is saying it's intentional. The effect is the same either way. Yeah, back in chains. All right, that's depressing. Let's go on to non-depressing stuff.
All right. A mother in Wyoming wanted to punish her daughter for skipping class, so Janine Crutchfield decided that it would be a great idea to follow her daughter in school and film her as she was doing so. And the results might be considered bullying, but we'll let you guys decide. Let's take a look at the video.
14-year-old Ricky Durant's mother heard she had recently skipped class, and to teach her a lesson, Jeannie Crutchfield surprised her daughter showing up in the hallways with a video camera.
I told you and I warned you, make me come to this school because you can't act right.
The taunting, taping, and tormenting went on for a full 3 minutes.
We're going to hold hands and we're going to go to class and sit together. Isn't that great? Mommy and daughter, yay, we're going to class together.
As if this humiliation in front of her classmates wasn't enough, Jeannie Crutchfield posted the video on Facebook where more than 30,000 people viewed it. And while she was definitely not enjoying the process, Ricky Durant said she knew her mother was acting in her best interests.
All right, I'm torn on this. I'm really curious what you guys think, right? On the one hand, it's a little over the top. Like, okay, Mom, just bring it down for a second, right? And, you know, people say, oh, it's bullying. Like, you know, you shouldn't do that to kids.
She was, like, bullying her daughter.
I know. She's like, oh, yeah, what? No, oh,
like,
yeah,
all up in her face,
right?
like, oh, mommy, daughter, I'm going to hold your hand.
Right. On the other hand, it's a parent who actually gives a shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, man, that's not so bad. It seems like a win.
You know, I knew a guy who worked with troubled kids, and he said that the only kids that he knew he couldn't help were the ones who didn't have anybody who loved them at home.
Oh, that's so sad.
So if they had someone who loved them at home, they could save them because they knew someone cared for them or whatever. And this is so she might be, you know, overbearing. She might be doing it a little, you know, too much. She gives a shit about her kid. So that kid knows that her mom cares, and it still might be a little humiliating for him, but she's not humiliating her like she's not hitting her in public. Like my parents hit me in public, and other people, we got hit in school all the time. We got hit by our teachers, and the priest would come beat the shit out of us. Everybody's beating the shit out of everybody.
That was out of love, Jimmy.
It was a lot of love. And I saw a woman come in and pull her daughter's underwear down in front of the class in 3rd grade.
Oh my God.
And hit her daughter with a ruler over her ass in front of the entire class, and the fucking nun let it happen.
Now that is Catholic.
That is We're super Catholic.
You know you're Catholic when.
That's insane.
Yeah. So that kind of, and the teachers would take, if your desk got too dirty, they would just take it in the middle of class and just dump it on the kid, and the kid would have to sit there and like in the middle of class and then try to clean his shit up again. So they would humiliate you for real all the time where I grew up, right? So that's why this seems like nice. And it seems like, oh, she cares. She's going to come to school. It's like, yeah, my mom gives a shit about me.
I feel like there's a good, okay, so your experiences were radical and extreme, right? Like
No,
those
they
are
weren't.
no.
I went to Catholic
Very
school.
I know,
4
but like
years,
we live in a
that's
different
Catholic
world.
school.
Like you're not gonna have people pull down underwear and like hit asses with rulers in schools now, right? But I think
After
that there's,
school, maybe.
I think anyway, look. In this case, I think that there could have been a good middle ground. First of all, I can totally see my own mom doing this, but she wouldn't film me. She wouldn't like insult me while we're on campus, and she certainly would not post it on Facebook. My mom would be like, okay, you're skipping class? Well, for a week straight, I'm gonna go to school with you. Or she'd do something like that, right? Which would be embarrassing enough. But
Right.
putting it on Facebook, I think that just went a little too far.
I like how they said it's viral because it got 30,000 hits. Well, once this goes up, we'll double or triple that. So it's about to get worse. All right, Wes, what's your thoughts?
No, look, my thought is, it's great she cares her daughter's going to school. Don't put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Don't humiliate her and then try and humiliate her in front of the world for something that's going to be there forever, unless it's like really funny, which doesn't look that funny.
Yeah, I know. I'm against humiliation as a tool to get people to act a different way. I don't think you should humiliate someone. I think that you can find a punishment, like maybe she's grounded. How about you ever try grounding her? You ever try doing something else? Humiliation is always a bad way to teach someone how to act better.
Okay, you've all made good points, but I'm not going to let you guys off the hook. We're going to vote. Okay, so of course you guys are right. The middle ground is best. If she goes to school but doesn't post it on Facebook. Okay, we all agree. Now, guilty or not guilty for the mom, okay? You're going to have to vote one way or another.
Guilty of what?
Of doing the wrong move, right?
TYT Supreme Court is always like super detailed and
Yeah. Don't ask too many questions, okay? Court's in session.
All right, sorry.
Okay, all right. Guilty or not guilty?
If I'm considering the whole package of what she did, guilty.
I'm going not guilty. She cares about her kid. She went over the top, but definitely not guilty.
Not guilty.
Guilty.
Oh, split. Okay. All right. Let's do a poll. Okay. TYTnetwork.com. Is the mom guilty or not guilty? Let the people decide. Plus the Chief Justice. Yes. Jesus. Is the mom guilty or not guilty?
I gotta say guilty, man. The whole thing of embarrassing them in front of people and sharing that, I don't like that.
Voice of reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Luckily, we went to the people before we went to you, so your vote is irrelevant. But I thought you would come the other way, that you'd come in with some Mexican mom story. Oh, yeah, she used to beat me, and this is no big deal.
Because it happened to me, and I hated it. I wouldn't want to do it to my kid and then share it on social media. Fuck that.
Oh, God, how much fun of you would they have made?
Oh.
Nonetheless, the TYT nation will decide the fate of the mom, and then nothing will happen.
I don't know how kids cut class and not get caught. I went to Catholic school 12 years. You couldn't cut 5 seconds. They would know you. One day, me and Mike DeMeo cut school, and we got caught immediately.
How many students were in your Catholic school total?
1,600, 1,700.
Okay, I mean,
that's a lot of control for 1,700
that
kids.
Is,
wow,
that is
that's a lot of kids, man, in a school.
That's pretty
We had
impressive.
one of the bigger schools in New Jersey, and we were about 700.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, like some of the public schools in Los Angeles have thousands of students, which is why it's so easy to skip class. I mean, we had 500 students K through 12 in my school. I went to like this little magnet school, so it was really easy to get caught.
Oh, I'm
too.
sorry. Yeah, it was 700 per class. yeah. So you're right. Yeah. So overall, 3 classes. So that's over 2,000 kids.
Yeah. So it's really easy. I think it's easy to skip class if you have thousands and thousands of students.
Right. So to show you how much dorks we were, and then we'll do the last story. We had a teacher strike when we were in junior high. Nobody's minding the store. The teachers aren't there. You got the UPS delivery guy barely trying to keep things together, right? Like, I don't know if the principal's there or not, right?
Our regular teacher lets us play cards during the day. Go ahead.
Yeah. We used to call him and he would literally come. There was a guy who would literally come in his UPS outfit, in his uniform, right? And I used to call him the ups man, and he drove him crazy. Okay, he's like, it's not ups, dude.
Was Haas your substitute teacher?
A more stoned, skinnier version. Anyway, and we're like, oh, should we cut? Should we cut? Like, we were like debating it for like days and days. The strike lasted for a long time. Finally, one day, me and my friend were like, let's get out of here. And we left, and of course, nobody noticed. Nobody was paying any fucking attention. Then once we realized it, we went back to the school and started making fun of the kids in the school. We're like, oh, are you reading? Are you studying with the ups man?
That's so great. But you didn't try to get that was the big score, was trying to get the sub to believe that our regular teacher let us do, hey, our regular teacher lets us just go to the bathroom whenever we have to. We just get up, we don't ask, you know.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Our regular teacher lets us do coke all the time.
Our regular teacher lets us fuck her.
Well, there's a good argument to be made that we should end on that. You want to do? All right, one last story. We started.
All right, I kind of want to do the soccer story.
Oh, really?
Is that crazy, or should we do the what's prepared next?
Yeah, they're both good. They're both good.
All right, let's just do what we have next. Okay.
Okay.
So Melissa Klein is the owner of a bakery in Oregon, and recently they made headlines because they refused to bake a wedding cake for a lesbian couple. Now, a lawsuit was filed, and apparently state officials went after them because of discrimination issues, and they were fined $150,000. They said that forced them to shut down their bakery, and recently Melissa did do a little bit of a speech at an event, and she kind of talks about what this did to her business and what it's done to her life. Let's take a quick look at the video.
I would sit and sketch up designs, and sometimes it would take several different designs until we got the perfect cake that just matched them. And sometimes it would take 2 hours of sitting in a cake tasting. And if they chose me to do their cake, I'm sorry. Sure. I would just feel so honored to be able to be a part of such an amazing, special day.
That people who are different than us should never be able to have. And those people cry for their own things, but cry for me because, like all right-wingers, I don't understand a problem unless it personally happens to me, and I would like to discriminate someone while I feel sorry for myself. Back to you.
Okay, so that's at the Values Voter Summit, okay. And so think about what she's saying. I put all this tender love and care into my wedding cakes. Now they want me to give it to lesbians. I mean, I poured my heart into that thing, and now you're going to make me, like, not going to let me discriminate against people. Now, look, I've been torn on this issue from day one. I actually have. Because I think that part of freedom is the freedom to be a dick, right? And if you're a small business owner, I'm a little torn on how much you can, we let you do that, right? So now, the thing that, of course, is the counter to that is just substitute gay people for interracial marriage, and you'll have your answer, right? Yeah. If the same exact woman, like, I used to do this for white people and I loved it, but now this nigger wants to get married to a white girl and I got to do that cake for him? You serious, right? And everybody would hate her, right? But now she says, now I got to let this lesy and gay guy, this, and so I don't want my precious cakes going to them. By the way, that couple that does the cakes then went and started doing cakes for reparative therapy. Yeah. So the people who psychologically torment gay people, trying to turn them straight, they'll make cakes for them. So
what are you still torn?
So look, again, the small business aspect of it, to me, because remember, we're a country that the KKK exists. They can exist. They can do marches. They can, it's a free country. So I despise the KKK, but they're here, right? So now she's not as bad as the KKK. She's got, in some ways that subtle form of discrimination that is so prevalent in the country has a worse effect because you can easily dismiss the KKK, whereas what she does is applauded in public and is more widespread, but she's obviously not as malicious as the KKK. It's a free country, and so I feel like telling somebody you have to bake a cake for somebody is a little weird, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, there is that fundamental and obvious discrimination that we just talked about.
Also, there's one really interesting thing that I want to bring up, and I'm not sure how this all works legally speaking, but when you have like a Catholic school, right? Those Catholic schools can discriminate against gay and lesbian teachers. Like, we've done stories where they're able to fire a teacher if they find out that he or she is gay or lesbian. So why is it that in that case it's okay, but in this case it's not?
Well, also, there's a lot of public schools who have fired teachers just because it turns out they don't wear clothes under their clothes when pictures are taken. nude pictures, that they actually have a body that doesn't always have clothes on.
Right. No, so Anna, then you get to another interesting point, which is, okay, you are allowed to discriminate as long as you're an actual religion, which is the exception we've always made. Religions have been hateful forever, so we let you continue being hateful, right?
Oh, that's such a great joke.
So that's an exception we've carved out, and so she then says, kind of like Hobby Lobby, why can't I discriminate too?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's a tough question. But I don't have any sympathy for her. Do you see the distinction
so
there?
You have a legal problem, maybe. You don't, but you don't have a. You're not the spirit. You're against them in spirit.
Yeah, when she cries about not. Oh my God! Imagine if I had to bake a cake for a gay person, right? I don't have any sympathy for that. But at the same time, as a philosophical issue on what America should and shouldn't do, I think that's an interesting issue.
Okay, here's the thing about, so if the KKK opened a cake shop, they'd still have to make the cakes for those people. They still have to make cakes for blacks and whites because we're, because
the KKK is a national organization. It's not just two people.
Yeah, well, also, but what I'm saying is we live in, people like to say we have a free market. We don't. We have a heavily regulated market, so that is also supported by taxpayers and the government and infrastructure. So when she's baking those cakes, she's using electricity, she's using the sewer, she's using water, she's using the road to get her stuff that the government. So she's using infrastructure that the government and the people of America have provided. So now you can't use that infrastructure to discriminate against other people, and while you're in business, that's why you can't do that.
And my KKK walks on public streets that we pay taxes for.
But they're not doing business. They're expressing an opinion. And by the way, it's not like people go, I shouldn't have to bake a cake for two homos. It's not like you're a business that makes cakes all day long. It's not like you're sitting on your couch watching the Dodger game and somebody from the government walks in, bake a cake for those queers. That's not what's happening. What? I'm fucking watching TV. I gotta bake a cake? That's not what's happening. Okay?
So I hear you. And look, it's an easy question when it's a large business and it affects the whole country. So it's McDonald's, there's McDonald's everywhere. It affects employment, it's so wide scale that that's mass discrimination, right? But I think the issue is, and this is also true in many other laws and regulations, that if you're a business under 50 people, that's the usual rule, but there are many different variants of that rule, that you have different rules applied to you. Because that's a small business, it doesn't affect that many people, and that's where we say, well, we want small businesses to have the freedom to run their business any way they like, right? Within bounds. So the question is, what are those bounds, and should they have different rules in this case? So you obviously say, no, I'm torn, you appear to be torn.
I'm torn on it. I mean, it's because I'm torn that it's a $150,000 fine that's been levied against this family. That's enormous, especially for someone running a tiny small business that makes cakes. Yeah, okay, get it. They don't want to sell to certain kinds of people, but generally, if they had that kind of business, the private sector can take care of it. Because over time, dude, everybody's got a gay friend. And even in a small town, everybody's going to have a friend who's gay, and that, not in every small town, but if there's like 2 gay people in the town, chances are people knowing their friends and they'll go, hey, you know what, don't buy a cake from that woman. She wouldn't sell them a cake to us. Like the actual, private sector can take care of that.
I used to be torn on this issue because I used to agree with Cenk, right? If you're a small business owner and you identify as a religious person, you should be able to run your business any way you want. But you know what? I'm tired of giving religious people a pass and saying, oh, since you're religious, you can be as discriminatory and hateful as you want. No, fuck that. You don't get to be discriminatory and hateful. You work at a business that makes cakes. I think you made the best point there, Jimmy. And if that's your job, you don't get to pick and choose who you make cakes for. If someone comes in there and they're violent, and they're, being threatening or something, sure. But this is a lovely couple that just wants you to bake them a cake. How is that going to ruin your life? You're not allowed to discriminate against black people in this case, so why should you be able to discriminate against gays and lesbians?
Exactly. Now, what if you opened one guy opens one Denny's, and then he just doesn't want to let gay people in? Should he get that fine for $150 grand?
Well, if he didn't do that, Denny's corporate headquarters would crush him probably faster and more thoroughly than the federal government.
Let's say he opened a Danny's.
Okay.
Ironically, didn't allow any Danny's in.
Danny's. All right. You open a Danny's.
And so it's just a single business now, right?
Okay.
But it's a big restaurant. People come in all day long and eat, and he's not going to let gays in and blacks. Should it be $150,000? I think so.
Okay, how about this? Jimmy Dore is running a joke store, and he's fucking selling jokes. And George Bush called, "Hey, Jimmy, I need some jokes for tomorrow night." What are you going to tell George Bush?
I'm going to write him a bunch of the shittiest jokes I've ever written in my life.
Okay, so if Miss, oh my God, actually had to bake the cakes for these two lesbians and was like, maybe she just should have baked them a shitty cake.
Go ahead, bake them a shitty cake. They won't come back. I bake shitty cakes for gays, but I'll bake you a cake. All the cocks on them are bent. Okay, I'm going to do it. It was funny. She goes, I do a 2-hour cake tasting, and now if it's a gay cake, what is it going to be, a cock tasting? What are you talking about?
And finally, I will say this. They said, it's definitely impacted us pretty hard financially, to Wes's point, and it's been a little stressful, but we have the Lord, so he's been keeping us strong. Great. Then why doesn't the Lord pay the fine?
Yeah.
All right, you bring the $150,000, big guy. I mean, you got a lot of money. The Catholic Church has got trillions of dollars, let alone all the other churches.
And believe me, those people are being taken care of. Right, the Koch brothers going to write him a check, or freaking Sheldon Adelson, or some other whoever's giving money to.
No,
you know what I'm talking about,
I know.
right? Not, yeah, but some other big guys, or little, or there's people supporting the cop who shot Michael Brown, Darren Wilson. People are giving him money. Zimmerman, people gave him money. You don't think these people are going to be rolling in it? You just saw a whole room full of people applauding them for fucking discriminating against people just because of the way they were born.
Yeah. All right, we are definitely out of time. Okay, we need everybody to have a fantastic weekend.
Can I tell people?
Yes.
That tomorrow night, 8 p.m., I'm at the Improv at Hollywood, the world famous Improv in Hollywood.
Oh, that's awesome.
8 p.m. I'm going to be on it with, who's the guy who plays the new Mad Men? Lou, the most hated man on television. You watch Mad Men? Lou, what's his name? Anyway, Alan Havey is going to be on that show. Laura Keitlinger will be on that show.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'll be on that show, so come check it out. 8 p.m. And there's a link. There's a link for discounted tickets. You go to jimmydorecomedy.com, and if you use the code DOOR, you get a $5 ticket.
That opens all doors.
That opens all the comedy doors. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., go to jimmydorecomedy.com.
By the way, it's not like, the thing that's kind of an improv. No, it's the Improv.
The world famous.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Check Jimmy out there if you're in LA tomorrow night. And everybody buy his book, too.
Yes,
okay?
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you, and we'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
You liked that, didn't you?
All right, if you want the whole show, you like it even more, go to TYTnetwork.com, go under member options, and you can get the whole show anytime you like.